It was a regular Saturday morning, the kind where everything feels right. I had just poured myself the perfect cup of coffee, steaming, dark, rich, when my golden retriever, Rocky, decided that today was the day he would wage war against the squirrels. You know, the usual. There was a light breeze, and the sun was shining just enough that everything outside looked like a postcard, bright, cheerful, a little perfect. I was looking forward to a peaceful day, maybe even finally getting that bird feeder up in the backyard, when all hell broke loose. Rocky had been chasing squirrels for months, running around the yard like a fluffy cannonball. He never caught one because, you know, squirrels theory fast, but that didn't stop him from trying. His daily ritual. I chuckled to myself, watching him take another failed leap toward the fence where a particularly smug-looking squirrel was teasing him, flicking its tail from the safety of the branches. But then, a yelp. Not a normal bark, more of a terrified, desperate sound that sent a chill down my spine. The kind of bark you only hear when something goes seriously wrong. I ran toward the sound, heart pounding, only to find Rocky slipping and scrambling at the edge of a small cliff in our backyard. You have to understand, this wasn't a big, dramatic drop, but it was enough that if he fell, it could hurt. And there he was, hanging onto the rocks by his claws, looking at me with those big brown eyes full of panic. I could barely breathe. My dog, my best friend, was clinging to a rock, 30 feet down, and I was completely helpless. I tried to call to him, my voice shaking. Rocky, stay there, buddy. Stay. But he wasn't listening. His paws scraped against the rock face as he tried to inch his way to safety, but it was too narrow, too dangerous. I had no idea how I was going to get to him. I wasn't some wilderness expert. I was just a guy trying to fix a bird feeder. But I had to act fast. My first thought? The emergency access gate at the end of the cul-de-sac. It led to a rough path down to the base of the cliff, a shortcut I'd seen hikers use. But of course, I had to get through that gate. And I had no idea where the key was. So I sprinted. I practically flew toward the gate, praying it would be unlocked, that this was all going to work out. But then I saw it. A shiny new padlock on the gate. And standing next to it, watering her ridiculous flowers with a look of serene superiority, was my neighbor, Karen, the HOA president. Of course. Karen, I shouted, feeling my frustration build as I skidded to a stop in front of her. Rocky's stuck down there. I need to get through the gate, please. She didn't even look at me. She just calmly set her watering can down and wiped her hands on her perfectly pressed blouse, giving me a look like I was asking her to break into Fort Knox. Oh, I see, she said, her voice almost condescending. You're in a bit of a pickle, aren't you? I was furious. What are you talking about? My dog is stuck. This is an emergency. She looked at me, that same smug expression never leaving her face. Well, Michael, she said, her voice calm, almost soothing, I can't just open this gate for you. You're not authorized to use the emergency access point without going through the proper channels. Section 9, subsection 4, paragraph B of the HOA guidelines clearly states. I didn't even hear the rest of what she said. My mind was racing, and all I could think was how ridiculous this was. My dog was stuck on a cliff, and she was worried about bylaws. You're really going to stand there, argue about rules, while my dog could be hurt? I snapped. She didn't budge, didn't even flinch. Michael, I'm afraid I can't make exceptions. You know how it is. Rules are there for a reason. Safety, community harmony. At that moment, I realized I was up against more than just a stubborn neighbor. I was up against someone who didn't care. Her power trip was more important than my dog's life. So I did what anyone in my situation would do. I called 911. 911. What's your emergency? The operator asked. I need help. I nearly shouted. My dog is stuck on a cliff, and my HOA president is blocking the emergency gate. She's refusing to open it. I need someone to get here and help me get through. The dispatcher sounded calm, too calm. Sir, is the animal aggressive? She asked. No, I shouted, my voice cracking. He's stuck. He's injured. Please just send someone. I couldn't believe this was happening. Rocky was down there, probably scared out of his mind, and here I was arguing with a woman who had clearly never known the meaning of compassion. While I was on the phone, I saw the police car pull up. Two officers, Officer Miller, who looked like he had seen more than his fair share of neighborhood squabbles, and Officer DeVYES, the rookie, still shiny and new to the force. They didn't know what they were walking into. "Ma'am," Officer Miller said, trying to stay neutral, "can we open the gate for him?" "Oh, no, no, no," Karen interjected, her voice suddenly sweet. "You see, the gate's locked for a reason. Emergency access is for authorized personnel only. Michael doesn't have the proper paperwork." I couldn't believe my ears. This was insane. I needed to act fast. I looked at the officers, my mind spinning. I need someone to help me. I can't just stand here while my dog is stuck. And then, something clicked in my head. I remembered someone who owed me a favor. Skyscraper Steve. A guy who specialized in impossible access situations. He'd once helped a neighbor install a hot tub in a ridiculously tight backyard. Maybe he could help me. I pulled out my phone and made the call. It rang twice before he picked up. "What's up, Mike? You in trouble again?" he asked, already sounding amused. "I need a huge favor," I said, barely able to keep my voice steady. "It's Rocky. He's stuck on the cliff, and the HOA president won't open the emergency gate. I need your help. Can you, I don't know, airlift him out or something?" There was a long pause on the other end, and then he said, "Hang tight. I'll be there in 2 minutes." 2 minutes. That was all the time I had before my dog's situation went from bad to worse. And then, like some kind of miracle, the sound of a helicopter's rotor blades filled the air. I looked up, heart pounding, as a Bell 412 helicopter appeared out of nowhere. Skyscraper Steve. Of course. He was hovering above my backyard, a grinning, sunburned hero who had just made the impossible possible. I turned to Karen, who was now wide-eyed and trembling. "Plan B," I said, grinning. "I hope you like helicopters." The helicopter hovered lower, and a thick, heavy rope dropped from the side. I could hardly believe it. I didn't even have time to think. I strapped myself into the harness, my heart racing with a cocktail of terror and exhilaration, and before I knew it, I was dangling from a rope, swinging toward Rocky. The wind whipped around me as I descended, and I could barely hear anything over the roar of the helicopter's engines. My legs were shaking, and I kept telling myself, "Don't look down, don't look down." But of course, I did. The cliff face was terrifyingly close, and there, on a narrow ledge, was Rocky, shaking, but alive. "Hang on, buddy," I shouted, doing my best to sound calm as I reached for him. He saw me, and for a moment, I swear I saw relief in his eyes. It felt like an eternity, but finally, I got him into the rescue harness. I gave a thumbs up to Steve's crew, and within seconds, we were pulled up into the safety of the helicopter. Rocky's tail was wagging, and for a moment, I could forget about the craziness and just focus on the fact that my best friend was safe. We landed, and I held Rocky close, grateful, but exhausted. The cops were standing there, still taking notes, still looking at me like I was the crazy guy who just pulled off the most absurd rescue ever. But as for Karen, she was fuming, red-faced, and shaking. The day wasn't over, but I'd won. And that's when it hit me. I didn't need to worry about her anymore. I had faced down a 30-foot drop, been lifted from a cliff by a helicopter, and gotten my dog back. Nothing Karen did could touch me now. So, yeah, I'm known as Chopper Dad in the neighborhood now. And Karen? Well, let's just say she's not the one people are afraid of anymore. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have called the cops, or gone full throttle like I did? Let me know in the comments.